The train screeched into Dustfall Station, a forgotten stop in the middle of endless sand and sky. Eleanor stepped down, clutching a faded suitcase and a heart too heavy for her small frame. The platform was empty except for a tumbleweed rolling by and a notice nailed crookedly on the post, "Beware of bandits." She wasn't afraid of danger anymore. She was afraid of loneliness. Her husband had died back east, leaving her nothing but debts and the echo of dreams they never lived. She found a bench near the station wall and sat quietly, staring at the vastness ahead. The sky burned gold as the sun began to set, painting everything in sorrow. The wind picked up dust, and with it came a sound, spurs clinking, boots thudding. A tall man in a long duster coat appeared from the shadows, his hat tipped low, face half hidden. He stopped a few feet away, eyes steady and curious. "Don't sit there alone, miss," he said in a deep, warm drawl. "Out here, the night don't take kindly to strangers sitting quiet." Eleanor looked up, startled. His voice wasn't threatening, more like a warning wrapped in kindness. She noticed the revolver on his hip but also the softness in his gaze. "I'm not sure I have anywhere else to sit," she whispered. He smiled slightly, kneeling beside her suitcase. "Well, then I reckon you've got somewhere to go now. I'm headed back to my ranch before sundown. You look like you could use a meal and a roof." She hesitated. A stranger's offer in a land full of outlaws wasn't wise, but the way he spoke made her believe in decency again. "Why would you help me?" she asked. The cowboy looked at her with an expression she couldn't read. "Because once, someone helped me when I didn't deserve it. Figure it's my turn." He tipped his hat again and extended his hand. For a long moment, Eleanor stared at that hand, scarred, sunburned, and trembling slightly from the cold wind. Then she took it, and with that touch, her new life began, not with promises, but with a stranger's quiet grace. The ride to his ranch was rough. They rode side by side on his horse, a strong bay gelding named Whiskey. The desert wind howled around them, whipping Eleanor's hair loose. She hadn't ridden in years, but the cowboy's steady presence made her feel strangely safe. He told her his name was Colt Brenner, owner of the Silver Spur Ranch. "Ain't much," he said, "but it's home. You can stay till you figure your way." She didn't know that this man's home would soon be her destiny. When they arrived, the ranch looked worn but alive. Fences creaked, lanterns flickered, and horses whinnied in the corral. A dog ran up barking until Colt whistled, making it stop at once. "Meet Duke," he said with a grin. Eleanor smiled faintly, surprised to feel warmth creeping back into her heart. It had been months since she'd smiled at anything. He showed her the guest cabin, small but tidy. "You'll be safe here," he said. "Tomorrow, I'll take you to town if you'd rather move on." She only nodded, unsure what to want anymore. That night, she couldn't sleep. The desert was alive with sounds, wolves howling far away, the wind whispering secrets against the wooden walls. She thought of her husband's last words, of her lost home, and of the man sleeping somewhere nearby who had offered kindness with no reason. She rose quietly and looked through the window. The moon hung low, silvering the world in light, and there he was, sitting by the barn fire, hat tilted, lost in thought. She stepped outside, wrapping herself in a shawl. "You don't sleep much?" she asked softly. He looked up, smiling faintly. "Sleep don't come easy when ghosts keep talking." She understood that feeling more than she could say. They sat together, two broken souls under the vast Wild West sky. He didn't ask about her past, and she didn't ask about his. But in the quiet, something unspoken passed between them, something that felt like peace. Morning brought color back to the plains. Eleanor helped with chores, brushing the horses, feeding the chickens, even laughing once when Duke stole her glove and ran off with it. Colt watched her from the porch, surprised by how her sadness softened when she worked. "You've got spirit, miss," he said. She wiped her brow and smiled. "Maybe I just needed a place to use it." That evening, they rode into town for supplies. As they entered the saloon, every head turned. A woman beside Colt Brenner was a rare sight, and whispers began. "Who's the lady, Colt?" someone called. He ignored them, his hand hovering near his revolver. But Eleanor saw the tension in his jaw. Later she asked quietly, "They don't like you much, do they?" He sighed. "Some folks still think I'm the outlaw I once was. I'm just trying to be something better." His words hit her harder than expected. She realized they were both running from ghosts. His were carved in reputation, hers in loss. That night, back at the ranch, he told her the truth. Years ago, Colt had ridden with a gang but turned away after a robbery went wrong. He'd been trying to make amends ever since. "You think people can change, miss?" he asked. "I think people can try," she replied softly. As days turned into weeks, Eleanor found herself smiling again. The ranch became her refuge, its rough beauty teaching her strength she didn't know she had. She learned to ride alone, to mend fences, to laugh without guilt. Colt often watched from afar, never crossing the line, but the way his eyes followed her told her more than words ever could. One afternoon, a storm rolled across the horizon, black clouds, rumbling thunder, the smell of rain and danger. Colt rode out to bring the cattle in, but he didn't return by sundown. Panic gripped Eleanor's chest. She saddled Whiskey herself and rode into the storm, the wind screaming in her ears. "Colt," she shouted again and again, until lightning revealed him, pinned under a fallen tree near the creek. Mud splashed her dress as she jumped down and fought to free him. "You should have stayed," he gasped weakly. "And let you die out here," she cried. The rain poured, drenching them both as she heaved the branch aside. When he was finally free, she helped him onto the horse. They rode back to the ranch, soaked, trembling, alive. That night, as she tended his wounds, his hand brushed hers. "Guess you saved me, miss," he murmured. She smiled through tears. "Maybe we saved each other." Colt's fever lingered for days after the storm. Eleanor barely slept, tending to him through the long nights, cooling his forehead, whispering words she didn't know she remembered. Somewhere between his delirious dreams, he muttered her name, softly, like a prayer. "Eleanor." It made her chest tighten. When he finally opened his eyes and saw her by the bedside, he smiled faintly. "Didn't think angels came to dusty places like this," he said. She laughed through tears, realizing how much his presence had come to mean to her. As Colt healed, life returned to the ranch with quiet rhythm. Mornings were filled with work, evenings with small talks and laughter that felt too easy. But under that peace, trouble brewed. One afternoon, while Eleanor was hanging laundry, she saw 3 riders approaching fast, dust trailing behind them like smoke. Colt came out of the barn, face hardening. "Get inside," he said sharply. She froze. "Who are they?" His jaw clenched. "Ghosts I never buried." The riders stopped at the fence, gritty men with eyes like snakes. Their leader, Jed Riker, smirked under his hat. "Well, looky here, the great Colt Brenner, playin' farmer now." Colt stepped forward, hand resting on his gun. "This ain't your business, Jed." Riker laughed. "Oh, it's all my business. You took what was ours when you walked out. I came to take it back. The girl, the ranch, everything." Eleanor's heart pounded. She realized then that Colt's past wasn't just a story. It was coming for them that night. Colt packed a small bag. "I'll ride out at dawn," he said quietly. "If I leave, maybe they'll follow me instead of hurting you." Eleanor grabbed his arm. "No, you can't keep running." He turned away, his face shadowed by pain. "You don't understand, miss. I've done things, bad things. You don't deserve the trouble that follows me." She stepped closer. "Then let me choose that trouble." For a moment, silence hung heavy, broken only by the sound of the wind outside. The next morning, the ranch was eerily still. Eleanor woke to the smell of smoke, and panic jolted her upright. The barn was on fire. She ran out screaming, spotting Colt already there, trying to free the horses. Gunshots cracked across the air. Riker's gang had returned. "Colt," she shouted, ducking behind the fence. He fired back, eyes blazing. The quiet man she'd known was gone, replaced by a fighter determined to protect what little he loved. "Get down," he yelled as bullets shattered the corral post beside her. The battle was fierce and fast. When Riker aimed at Eleanor, Colt dove in front, taking the shot to his shoulder. He hit the ground hard. Rage exploded in her chest. Without thinking, she picked up Colt's rifle and fired, her shot hitting Riker square in the leg. The others fled, dragging their leader away into the dust. Silence fell except for the crackle of dying flames. Eleanor dropped the rifle, running to Colt. Blood stained his shirt, but he was alive. "You got good aim, miss," he groaned weakly. "You taught me," she whispered, tears mixing with soot. Days later, the fire was out, the wounds bandaged, but something deeper had changed between them. Colt tried to stand, grimacing as Eleanor helped him. "Guess you're stuck with me till I heal again," he joked. She smiled softly. "Guess I don't mind." For the first time in years, he let himself laugh freely. The walls around his heart began to fall. Slowly, stubbornly, but surely the sheriff arrived a week later with news. Riker's gang scattered. Word is they're headin' for the border. "You're free of 'em now, Brenner." Colt nodded, relief flashing across his tired face. When the lawman left, Eleanor turned to him. "So, what now?" He looked at her, the sunset painting his features gold. "Now, I reckon we start livin'." Miss Spring came early that year. The ranch healed alongside them, new fences, new crops, laughter echoing across open fields. Eleanor had found purpose in every sunrise, her hands roughened but her heart light. One evening, as they watched the cattle graze, Colt said quietly, "Never thought I'd call this place home again." "You made it one." She smiled. "No, Colt, you did. I just reminded you what it feels like to stay, but peace in the Wild West never lasted forever." A telegram arrived from back east. Her family estate was being sold off. She had the chance to reclaim her old life. Colt said nothing when she told him, though his jaw tightened. "You should go," he said finally. "You deserve better than this dust and danger." Eleanor's voice trembled. Better isn't always happier. That night, she sat awake, staring at her packed suitcase. At dawn, she made her choice. She found him fixing the corral gate, sunrise behind him. "I'm not leaving," she said. He froze. "Eleanor, I lost everything once," she interrupted. "But here, I found something worth staying for. Someone worth staying for." He turned slowly, eyes shining in disbelief. "You sure about that?" She stepped closer, smiling through tears. "I'm sure about you." For a long moment, they simply stood there, the wind whispering through the grass, Duke barking in the distance, the world holding its breath. Then Colt reached out, pulling her close. "Guess this old cowboy finally found his reason to quit runnin'," he murmured. Their lips met softly, sealing a promise made not by words, but by everything they had endured years later. Folks in Dustfall Station still spoke of the quiet ranch woman and the reformed outlaw who turned the Silver Spur into one of the most honest, thriving ranches in the territory. They never had riches, but they had something rarer: peace, laughter, and love forged in fire. Every evening, they'd sit on the porch together, watching the sun sink beyond the desert, holding hands like the world couldn't touch them anymore. And sometimes, when travelers passed by the ranch and saw them sitting there, they'd wonder how it all began. Eleanor would smile and tell them, "It started with one sentence. 'Don't sit there alone, miss,' and I never did again."